All right, so I just want to welcome you to the Accidental Artist, the free online event. And the whole reason for this event is I just want to show people that art can enrich your life, even if you're not an artist. And today we have Tracy Lee Stum, who is a three-dimensional chalk artist who I've met a couple of times and got to see her work in Panama City Beach. And I'm just so happy she's here. So welcome, Tracy.
Hi, Heidi. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, thank you for being here. So, Tracy Lee, so how did you become an artist?
Well, let's see. That started very early on. Probably some of my earliest memories are me drawing with crayons um, on a piece of paper or with chalk on a chalkboard. I'd say I was probably 3 or 4 years old doing that. And it was one of those things that once I discovered it, I just didn't stop. And that eventually led to my parents' awareness that, hey, this is not just a passing fancy. This child really is enamored with this practice of making drawings. And that's what I was doing at the time, drawing. And so my parents enrolled me into private art lessons when I was fairly young, probably I'd say 7, 8 years old. And that continued through high school. And by that time, I realized for sure that I wanted to pursue a life of art. So decided to go to college to pursue painting and drawing, and that's kind of where it got me to now.
Yeah, and can you explain a little bit to our viewers exactly what you do?
Yes, I am a chalk artist or street painter. Actually, the correct term is street painter, and I work most almost exclusively in the 3D format, which means that I create optical illusions on the ground with chalk pastels that appear to be three-dimensional when you view them through a camera lens. And they're actually created with a technique called anamorphic projection, which is why you need to stand in a particular spot from a particular place and view it from that spot. So there's a lot of distortion and a lot of uh, um, adjustment to the drawing to be seen from that one spot in space. So as you move around the drawing, if you're not in that spot, it looks very odd and very strange, very elongated, let's say. Um, anyway, it's a lot of fun and it plays with people's ideas about perception and space. That's what I enjoy most. I love engaging their minds, and I love explaining to them and demonstrating to them that things are not always what they seem visually. Yeah.
So, do you feel like you have to be good at math for this? Because that's how I feel when I'm trying to approach that.
One might think that you would have to be, but actually, you can create these drawings without any knowledge of math, let's say, or geometry. Certainly, I use math and geometry when I'm creating my sketches for large projects that need to be resolved before I actually get to the pavement so that I can execute them very quickly. But certainly you can go out to the pavement with nothing but a piece of string, some tape, and a piece of chalk and make a drawing that way.
Oh, wow.
And I've kind of worked to demystify the process somewhat in some of my workshops and classes that I've taught. And I've been very successful at that. So I would say don't be intimidated. You can try it. It's not as hard as it sounds.
I know. I like we talked earlier. Every year I do a chalk day. We call it chalk day, and we make it a huge ordeal for our school, and we get all the kids involved. And I show them all the videos of your work and how you've gone all over the world to do this stuff. So it's really exciting because they get so pumped up about it, and then they're like, Miss Easley, can you show us how to do it 3D? And then I feel so bad because I'm not skilled in that. So I'm excited about learning more.
Yeah, that's terrific. You definitely can learn very quickly and improve very quickly. I would say that one thing that's necessary to be a successful 3D artist, I would say, is somebody who can visualize drawings or compositions in the third dimension. So if, for instance, it's almost like you're looking at your compositions as a sculptor would, more so than a painter, because you do have to imagine how the light's hitting the subject matter, where the shadows are falling, how do I render something that's viewed from a three-quarter view. There are a lot of little technical things that are kind of crucial to becoming successful with your drawings. So
Yeah.
I'd say certainly you can try them, but if you have any skill or background with art classes and study and investigation in these types of rendering and lighting and modeling and things like that, it's very helpful.
Oh wow. So almost you need like a blender program to kind of learn some of the 3D stuff and then you can take that to the pavement. That's pretty neat.
Yeah, yeah.
So what is your favorite part about the art process when you're creating your next new artwork?
Oh my goodness. I have several things about the process that I really enjoy. I don't know that I have one, but I love the conceptualizing and engineering of the piece. That to me is a lot of fun. So, being able to put the idea down on paper and make sure that the sketch or the drawing that I create is going to be identical to what I envision in my head. That takes quite a bit of skill. And the other part of that is the rendering of the piece. So, for instance, if I'm working with chalk or paint, it's the beauty of it is actually creating the piece with the color and the lines and just the richness that you can get from the medium. So that's the part that's just super luscious and enjoyable.
Yeah, I remember I think it was your mousetrap one. I've shown that to several kids, and that one was so fun. And do you usually work with a team like that?
For large pieces, I do work with a team. I don't always work with a team, but on smaller pieces, I tend to work alone. It's just due to time and size of the piece. If we've only got 3 days to do a very large piece, of course, I'm going to need help. So I do enjoy working with a team. I have a group of artists that I work with regularly, and we have a great time doing these pieces together. It's a learning experience for most artists that come on site with me to create these pieces, and I love that. I love being able to share the process and the methods and kind of just giving them, let's say, a master class in a really short period of time on how
Yeah.
I make my work. So it's helpful for them, and it's of course very helpful for me to be able to execute the piece quickly.
Oh, yeah. What a great experience because that's where you learn the most when you're just doing it. Plus, you have an awesome teacher there showing you the way. That's really great.
Oh, that's very sweet. Thanks.
So I know your 3D artwork has allowed you to travel all over the world, it looks like. So can you talk about an experience that maybe you've had in another country that maybe has enlightened you or inspired you?
Gosh, let's see. I think that almost all of my foreign experiences have some element of that to them. Um, the fact that you're going into, let's say, a developing nation where they don't have access to these kinds of art forms or even general art in practice anyway. So you're going into these locations and you're exposing young people to this, the light bulbs going off above their heads, or their eyes opening like saucers are just incredible. I mean, you can see that they are completely inspired by an idea of making something that they had never even imagined existed before, and that it's something that they also can engage in and do. It's not out of their range, let's say, to make something like this. So
Hmm.
that to me is super special. I've been to some pretty remote places in the world, like Kazakhstan and Tajikistan and India, doing this, and the response is overwhelming. They just love it. They want to engage. They want to understand it. That to me is probably the most rewarding thing I can do with my artwork, is to take it to these locations and inspire young people. So for me, I think that's probably, um, I'd say those experiences are at the top of the list. For me, it's the awareness that what I'm doing is valuable in the world and it's needed, and that I'm able to impact or influence someone to engage in their own creative process is pretty special. So I have to say that in general, it's been very rewarding as an art form
Oh yeah,
with the travel.
that has to be so rewarding. And plus, maybe some of those are language barriers and but you still get across the art and you're showing the love there, which is really neat.
Oh yeah, this art form transcends all barriers. I tell that to people all the time. It's not ruled by boundaries. So for as any art, it's visual language. So the communication is through the art form, and it's one of those art forms that anyone can engage in or practice. I don't really see any difference between someone who's very young and someone who's quite elderly in practicing this art form. I've seen um, children as young as 2 or 3 years old trying to draw on the street, and I've also worked with someone who was 88 years old drawing a pavement drawing once in Japan. So nationality, gender, religious background, age, none of those things matter with this art form, that's the beauty of art anyway. So just really love that it connects with everyone.
Do you find in other countries that they're just surrounding you, like watching you work the whole time, like so excited about it?
Yeah, I think in some countries it's more prevalent than in others, but for instance, in India, they have such a rich and vibrant history of art and creativity in their culture that it's not so unexpected for them, and they actually have a tradition of people drawing on the street there, which is going on for hundreds and hundreds of years. They practice almost similarly to the Italians, where they draw religious deities on the ground with chalk. They're very crude drawings, but they nevertheless go out to a public space and do this. So when I first saw this in my travels there, I was shocked and amazed that, hey, maybe this art form has a much older root than I imagined. And it could have come from this part of the world. But over there, people are, they're inundated with art and they're surrounded by art. So they're curious about it, but it's not like it's something that's so unexpected for them. They see it, oh, you're drawing on the street. Well, it will tell me about your work. It's not so much the technique that they're concerned about or interested in. It's what I'm drawing and what's going on in my mind that they're interested in. So in different parts of the world, people respond differently. Certainly, I just came back from the UAE, where I was participating in a festival in Dubai, and there people were so enamored and amazed with the 3D that they couldn't actually contain themselves and wanted to get on the drawings before we were finished. So we had to kind of police the drawings, but I'd have to say that the fascination with the finished piece and having a photo op was so intense there that the drawings started to become really destroyed by like the third or fourth day. It was obvious that they were getting used. Yeah.
They were so excited.
They were very excited. So, having an art form like that coming to their community was unique for them. And people were coming back every day, several times a day to watch the process and then, of course, to engage in the photo op. So that was pretty cool.
Wow.
And, yeah.
Yeah, I saw in one of your videos how you're making like 3D chalk art, not only interactive where they can, look like they're about to fall off a cliff or something like that, but interactive with like an iPad or iPhone. Can you talk a little bit about how that's evolving?
Yeah, sure. That's an art form that has kind of developed that we've in the street painting world labeled as 4D street painting. There's really not anything such as 4D in reality, but it's easier than saying augmented reality with 3D street painting. So we just call it 4D. So this could be video applications overlaid with your art, as well as an augmented reality component, which is creating a virtual component to your piece, which shows up in an iPad or an iPhone. So the idea is when you're scanning the artwork with your device, the artwork is registered in an app that's on your phone for the augmented reality, and then an animation actually pops up that becomes part of the painting. So this has been a lot of fun to play with. It's a little bit, the process is a little bit involved and a little lengthy and can be quite expensive. Mm-hmm. So it's something that would be great for a campaign of, a large caliber that wants to really impact the public. it's fun to watch these drawings kind of come to life when you're viewing it through the iPad and the app and you see the animation happen. It actually changes the drawing. You can have the drawing morphing into something else or a component that plays with the drawing. Plus, the benefit is that somebody can get into the picture and actually look like they're interacting with this animation. So it adds another level or layer of interactivity with the piece. It's
Wow.
proven to be very dynamic and intriguing with the public. Certainly, more and more people are becoming aware or familiar with augmented reality applications. So they're curious. They want to, see themselves interacting with this, and they want to understand how it works. So it has been fun. I haven't done too many of them, but I have done a few large campaigns. One with Cadillac, where we toured around the country doing unique pieces in different locations with an augmented reality app installed for the vehicle driving on the artwork. So that was very cool, and people could get into the picture and look like they're standing on the car or stopping the car or holding the car. It was a lot of fun and a learning experience for me for sure.
Do you see yourself kind of moving more in that direction, or is it more just if somebody approaches you and wants that done?
Yeah, I've done a few of them now under my belt, which I have felt very satisfied with. They've been very successful. So I say at this point, it's just if somebody comes to me and says, "Hey, I want to do a piece or a campaign with this application," it's fine. It's easy to do, and I've got a team. We're ready and set up to do that. So
Yeah.
actually am looking to explore other ways of providing opportunities to incorporate technology with the artwork. So I'm not focusing strictly on 4D, but certainly that's there.
Right. Yeah, it's just so amazing when I saw that because, I've been following you for several years now. And then I saw the computer stuff happening with it and it just kind of blew my mind. I was like, oh my gosh, that's a whole nother level of interaction.
Yeah, yeah. So, certainly as new technology comes out and is available to us, we look at that and think, hey, is there some way we can incorporate that with, what we're doing? And I know there are several other artists out there in the street painting world that are using 4D as well. And, certainly advertising agencies use it quite a bit with, illusionistic campaigns, let's say, whether using digital or photo work. So it's been a lot of fun to see what other people are coming up with and how it's being used in the marketplace.
Yeah, it's really inspiring. So your art obviously is not permanent. So do you have like a sense of sadness when it washes away, or are you kind of like ready to move on?
Yeah, I'm ready to move on at this point in my life. The very first painting I did in my life, I had a really hard time separating from that. And so it was, it's like you're gifting the world this creation. It's like you're birthing your child or some analogy like that. So you've created this artwork, it's there on the ground, and I would leave when I was finished and have separation anxiety, and then I'd come back and see it again, and
Oh.
take more pictures, and I'd leave and I'd come back and take more pictures. So this went on for like several days, and I'd say by the third day, and I felt like, okay, I can actually let this painting go, and I've taken enough pictures. It was like I very quickly over the course of the next few paintings was able to relinquish um, any kind of possessive connection to it very quickly. So
Hmm.
now that I'm older, I'm usually not attached to the painting at all. And when I'm working on it, it's the process that's most important to me. And by the time I'm finished, I'm already thinking about the next one. And as a footnote, you're so tired from doing these because they're so physical. By the
Right.
third day, the last thing you really want to do is go back to that painting. So so I usually take some very good photographs of the pieces when I'm finished, and certainly am available to answer questions or talk to people about the engagement. And then when the festival or the event's finished, I pack up and go home, and I don't think about it again.
Wow.
It's this art form has taught me a lot about detachment, and that's, I mean, actually a serious metaphor for everything in life. It's understanding that everything has a lifespan. It may be, 10 seconds or 10,000 years, but eventually it's going to go away. So you have to, make peace with that And this just kind of accelerated that awareness for me by working in this art form.
Yeah, and I'm sure too it kind of teaches you to appreciate the present moment, enjoy that art piece now because it's not going to be there.
Yep, that's exactly right.
What was your first piece?
My first piece was, let's see, so it was a small 8 by 8 foot piece that was an original composition of a peacock morphing out of a fabric that had peacocks on it. And
Oh,
it was,
wow.
yeah, it was kind of, it was very elaborate and detailed in the fact that there was all this peacock patterning on this fabric. So it was, I like an MC Escher idea, of
Mm-hmm.
something becoming 3 dimensional out of a 2 dimensional, design or layout or line drawing, let's say. So I didn't realize that it was at a festival. It was at the Santa Barbara Street Painting Festival, the Imaginary Festival,
Mm-hmm.
and, which I still participate in. And I didn't, for some reason, realize that you could copy other artists' work, like masterworks, like Renaissance or Baroque masterpieces, which is kind of traditional in the Italian form of the art form. So I thought, okay, well, I'm going to make my own drawing, and I designed this piece, and people really enjoyed it. They really liked it, and I think I was pretty successful with executing it properly. It's a little bit crude for me, but that's just because I improved over the years working on the pavement. But still, the idea of that stuck with me from the very beginning, and I was intrigued with the idea of something morphing into something else or becoming realistic out of the
Mm-hmm.
pavement. So that's, I think, the springboard for it. The actual fascination with the 3D format
Right.
was, how can I make this art form or this image that I'm designing look like it's got depth and volume and like a realism to it that transcends a flat surface. So yeah, I say that seed was planted early on, and then I just kind of kept going with it and developed it as the years went by.
Would you say that's your biggest challenge when you're creating these masterpieces? Like just making sure you have the depth there?
In the beginning, yes, that was a concern because I really had no reference to understand how these drawing techniques worked, other than going back to the Baroque masters and really understanding how anamorphic projection worked. Um, so I would make mistakes. Some of my drawings were not successful. In fact, some were complete disasters, but I did learn valuable lessons from each one of those. And now I would say that the technical aspect of the art making is not an issue at all. It's more the conceptualizing and coming up with something new and different that hasn't been done before.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of artists practicing this art form now, and there are a lot of very easy go-to approaches for the artwork, which is fine for someone who's learning. But for someone like me, I really try to push the envelope each time I approach my artwork, and that becomes harder and harder because there are limitations to what you can do on the street. So just trying to, like I said, conceptualize something different and something new is the challenge at this point.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're pushing the envelope because it's really cool to see the new stuff you come up with.
Thanks. Yeah. Yeah. I just actually came up with a new composition that um, really hasn't been tried by any of my peers, surprisingly, of kind of flipping the viewing point to, instead of being at eye level, I've brought the viewing point down to almost to the ground and reverse the perspective so that the piece on the ground looks like it's going back into space, and the backdrop, let's say if I'm working on two surfaces, the backdrop looks like it's got a forced perspective point, so it looks like you're actually falling down a cliff.
Oh,
And
wow.
it was very successful. The first drawing I did was very successful this way, and so I think I'm going to actually start continuing changing and moving the viewing point around so that it's not in a traditional location, so that
Right.
you can get some really stunning effects with the artwork. Yeah,
Huh. Yeah, I can't wait to see that.
yeah.
So, do you think anyone can use art to enrich their life, Tracy Lee?
I do. I think that everyone has the potential to have a creative outlet, whether it's through, photography or film or drawing or music or dance, anything like that. In India, they call it the fivefold arts, which is dance, music, sculpture, architecture, and poetry. So any of those, I would say any of those kind of creative outlets are there for us to explore. And certainly tapping into that, getting some guidance through proper education or a mentor or a teacher that can inspire you, or like in this case, an art form that can inspire you, is probably the fastest way to tapping into that. So I'm a big believer in arts education and providing the skills that people need to engage in this process. So I've seen through my own eyes that certainly providing even a small amount of instruction that can be beneficial to them understanding process will help them develop and push their own ability to continue exploring their creative impulses. So yes, I think that art is valuable. It's necessary. It's crucial for a healthy society. So um, I do what I can to keep promoting that. Yeah.
Well, you're doing a good job.
Well, thank you. Thanks so much. I love what I do. It's a labor of love, and it's always rewarding for me as well.
So, what advice could you give somebody that has maybe never done art before on how to start, like maybe a first step?
Well, I would say, you can do things like get on YouTube and watch videos and look at styles of art and, creations that you think are fascinating and enjoy. I mean, I do this all the time too. I'm very inspired by some of the street artists that are working out there in in the mural formats and the graffiti styles. So I always look at what they're doing and see if there's anything in those art forms that inspire me, that push me. But I would say just look and find the type of artwork that you like, study it, maybe find someone who can teach you in your area some basics, and just start practicing. Really, it's just about practicing. The way to become a skilled draftsman is to draw every day. So even if it's just 5 minutes, 10 minutes, but that practice is super important. So I would say, you know, um, practice every day, engage in the process, look at other artwork, maybe photograph references, keep journals, keep photo files of things that you like, anything that makes it fun for you. The
Right.
exploration should be fun as well.
Right. Yeah, I think that part is so much fun. Just that, like you said, when you're getting ready for a next big project.
Yes, I
So,
love the research.
yeah, me too. Maybe that's the artist in us. So I noticed on your website, people can put their email address in and you send them like a little video on chalk art. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's a how-to, a free how-to. It's a very simple, basic approach to drawing a pool on the ground. And you can see the methods that I use. And in that one, we don't really use any math other than just laying out a square on the ground with a yardstick. So it's pretty easy.
Yeah, no
And
math.
yeah, anybody can. I'd say certainly if you're intimidated as an individual, you can do it with a group of people, like maybe some of your friends. A couple people can get together and draw it together. It makes it a lot more fun when you're working with your friends like that. Um, and it's very basic, step by step. So certainly, if you have any questions after the video is finished, you can always email me, and I'm happy to answer those.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, so I'll we'll make sure that we have like your website on here so that people can, go there and get that free gift because I know they'll be excited about that.
Yeah,
So
great. Thanks. I appreciate that.
do you have any last thoughts before we go?
Last thoughts. Well, the only other thing I would say about street painting is that it if you can find a festival in your area to practice at, or travel to one that's not too far away, that is the best way to learn about this art form, because you'll meet tons of other artists that are practicing. You'll meet artists that have been doing this for many, many years, and you'll learn a lot from them just by walking around, looking at the way they're working, talking to them. The street art community is a very generous community. They share their knowledge, their techniques, their ideas, and everything that they're doing about their work. It's out in the public forum, so it is about the process and about sharing. So go do yourself a favor, go to a street painting festival, enjoy if you don't want to draw the first year, just go and watch and, get what you can out of it, and then, prepare to do it yourself, whether it's with a group, maybe a school group could do it together, a class, an art class together, or just some friends who are interested in drawing together. Certainly there's no limits to how you can create this artwork. And I think that's one thing I would say is actually go out, support these street painting festivals, because it's a really great way for a lot of people to engage in creative process. And it's fun for the community. It's fun for them to come out and enjoy the artwork. So it's a great way to engage in art all the way around. So that's what I would say.
Oh, I love that. Oh, it's been so much fun talking to you. Like I said, I've kind of been following you for years, so I just think you have the coolest life.
Oh, well, I have to say thank you for your interest, and I really appreciate you supporting the art form and, kind of spreading the word. I think that is just beautiful, and we can never have enough of that, and hopefully I will see you on the pavement somewhere soon.
Yeah, once I get over my fear of the math part of it. So now that
Well,
I
maybe
know
you need
it's
to
not,
come. I think maybe you need to come out and do a little project with our team at some point. Then you'll get a firsthand a taste of
oh,
what's involved.
that would
And
be a dream come true.
okay, we'll have to arrange that.
Yes, okay, I'm on it.
All right.
Well, thank you so much for spending the time with me today, and I'm so excited to let everybody hear your stuff. So, thank you, Tracy Lee.
Yes, no problem, Heidi. I really appreciate it. Thanks for the call, and all the best. Looking forward to seeing all the interviews.
Sounds great. I will be in touch.
Okay, thanks so much. Bye
All
bye.
right, bye.